Hey neighbors, tax season is almost here. And did you know if your household earned less than $84,000 in 2025, you qualify to file your taxes at no cost through United Way's Volunteer Income Tax Assistance, or VITA program. Maximize your refunds and save on filing fees. Get free tax prep from United Way and keep more of what you earn. Visit UnitedWayFileFree.com to learn more. Nashvillians know hard work. But listen, that doesn't mean you have to do it all yourself. TaxRabbit has been helping folks in Music City for over a decade with everything from furniture assembly to minor home repairs. If it's a gorgeous weekend out, do not let that to-do list ruin it for you. Just hop on the TaskRabbit app, describe what you need, and find a skilled tasker right in your neighborhood who can take it off your plate. Pricing is totally transparent. You'll see the hourly rate up front, which includes the tasker rate and the service fee, so there are no surprises at checkout. Download the TaskRabbit app or visit TaskRabbit.com today to get those home to-dos crossed off. Today on CityCast Nashville, the Nashville Comedy Festival is taking over our city, starting today through April 19th, with big names and big venues. But what about the little guys? I'm talking about the Third Coast Comedy Club. Co-owners Luke Watson and Scott Field join us today to talk about making space for local comedy. And they have some pretty exciting news to share. It's Thursday, April 9th. I'm your host, Marie Cecile Anderson, and this is what Nashville's talking about. Hey, y'all. Today is Local News Day, a national day of action to reconnect communities with trusted local journalism. CityCast is here to share the daily conversations about what's happening in our neighborhoods, our schools, our local government, the people, places, and decisions that actually shape our daily lives. Whether you're tracking the development on the East Bank, from the scrapyard to Oracle's new campus, or following the battles over immigration and our childcare crisis, we are digging into the stories Nashvillians are talking about with their neighbors. But it takes support from people like you to make it happen every day. So I can't think of a better day to become a CityCast Nashville neighbor. Today on Local News Day, you get to vote with your wallet for local news in this community and support the show and the team of locals who make it. Plus, the perks aren't bad either. We love meeting our members at the exclusive events we host, and we cannot wait to meet you. Better neighbors make better cities. Become a neighbor today at membership.citycast.fm/Nashville. And happy Local News Day. Now, on with the show. Today kicks off the Nashville Comedy Festival. So, what's the funniest thing about Nashville?
Oh my God.
All the cosplay.
Oh, yeah. The cosplay.
I don't know. It just feels funny to me to think about if you're coming here and you have this idea about, I don't even know where this idea of cowboy hats and
where are you seeing all this cosplay? Where am I?
Bachelorettes all the time. Like they're always wearing boots and hats. And
all right.
Yeah, you were thinking, what were you thinking?
I didn't know if you were talking about, I was thinking about LARPing in Centennial Park or something.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not seeing.
Ellington, that's where you'll see the LARPing.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Well, so with the festival taking over our city as well as the Bachelorettes, does Third Coast Comedy actually feel part of that same scene or something completely different?
We feel part of the energy. I think that when you have such a hyper focus on comedy and you're bringing in so many folks simultaneously at so many different venues across town that it's hard not to ride that momentum. I think what is unique for us is during that time, during that month, we're able to focus on what we do, which is the local talent that we have here, the homegrown comedy. It gives a way to highlight a little bit something different than, the A-listers that are being brought into town.
Yeah, so let's talk about what y'all do different than the standard stand-up comedy club like Zanies, because I think that's what makes y'all special. What is improvisation?
Yeah, so if you're watching, Saturday Night Live, that's going to be scripted pieces. So that's going to be the sketch aspect of it. We're kind of basically doing sketches, but without the the pre-written part. The audience is completely part of the show. It's very much like Whose Line Is It Anyway, where we're getting inspirations to inspire either scenes or an improvised musical or a scenario. It's all made up on the spot, oftentimes with a musical director who's making up every note on the spot. So it's a very unique way for an audience to see a show that will never happen again and be a part of something they're all creating together. So that's a very unique thing that I think is hard to find in a lot of cities. So,
and by the way, you were probably improvising this morning when you got up to figure out what you were going to eat for breakfast. I mean, everybody can do it naturally. I think it's really the art relies on listening and agreement with what other comic actors bring to the stage. So, unlike stand-up, it's an ensemble. It's a group art form. So you really need other people to work with to create the magic.
Well, I've also been seeing a lot of people suggesting improv classes for people in corporate roles now. So why is that such a trend?
A lot of the challenges that an improviser on stage encounters and the skills you need to do an improv scene well translate so well off stage. Improv, I'm a huge proponent that it makes you a better human being. It just levels up your life. If you need to be better at public speaking or have more confidence in your executive role, or if you're in sales, you need to handle objections better. There's ways that teams can learn to listen together and work better together. We've yet to find a job or an industry that improv can't make a better or tighter workforce or team. And so with Third Coast, we've got our shows, but the training center has been a huge component of what we do, both on a corporate training level, but also for individuals to just take improv classes. Even if they don't want to be an improv performer, their goal might not be to get on SNL or to do live stage performance, but they might want to just meet some people that are like-minded, or they just moved to town. And so we have a place where we can foster that development.
And we get feedback from our students all the time, especially professionals who affirm that it's been life-changing. I mean, it's been really helpful for them. Just off the top of my head, I remember a trial lawyer. So this is somebody who's in a courtroom regularly, admitting that she was always terrified. Like 100% of the time she had to go to do her job, just terrified. And improv helped her be present and relaxed, and it was okay. She learned that it was okay.
Well, I even have a musician friend who is very comfortable on stage, but she just recently started taking classes with y'all. And it's just freeing her up in ways that she is more comfortable on stage than ever.
That is not unusual. We hear that feedback all the time, especially from musicians, which is kind of maybe ironic. Some people are very nervous about I'm great singing, playing my instrument, but it's the banter in between. I feel very, very self-conscious.
Brandy Carlisle just talked about that on Amy Poehler's podcast.
Yeah. Banter
between songs. It's her worst fear. So you're onto something.
Yeah.
Brandy Carlisle, if you're listening, sign up for a class.
We can do a drop-in. We'll do a drop-in. We'll do a special class just for you. Yeah.
And Brandy, the cost of the class is $800 for one class.
For you, it's a special deal. Come on down. All right, well, let's get into who is actually performing on your stage. Tell us about the local improv groups. Who are they and what are their shows like?
I mean, you can see everything from, obviously on the stand-up side, that's going to be a traditional stand-up type show. But with our improv shows, we have our main stage cast, which that show is very much like Whose Line Is It Anyway? So we call it short form. But basically, as opposed to a narrative piece where you're having like an improvised play or an improvised musical, it's going to be shorter, tighter pieces, a lot of high energy. The audience is actively engaged throughout the whole show. I believe our best show right now, which is Monday nights, which is Erica and Blaine. It's a fully improvised musical with just two people, Erica and Blaine. They play all of the characters that come about in the piece, which is different every week, with Alex Dolezal on keys as the musical director. So we've got all types of shows. Scott can tell you about some of the other ones.
Yeah, we have shows that take news headlines and create scenes. We've got shows that take songs from musicians and create scenes. We've got shows that improvise songs with our musical directors. And we have genre-based shows as well. So we have a murder mystery show. It's really whatever the community comes up with creatively that they want to do. And oftentimes these friendship groups meet in the training center. So you'll have ensembles that meet in their very first level one, and then they stick together throughout the whole training center experience. And by the end of a year, they're pretty tightly bonded. They're very close friends. And honestly, the art form requires a lot of trust, ability to kind of read each other's minds and work together. And so As far as local groups, a lot of them now are just emerging from the training center, quite frankly. And that's not the way it happened before Third Coast, which was people performed a show a month or a show every several months. But because we're open, really running shows Thursday through Monday night, the only dark nights are Tuesday, Wednesday, we just had a demand for a lot more talent. So we had to grow it because it just wasn't here. And now we have it. Now there's just a lot of people around doing funny stuff on stage.
So when you say the audience is engaged, do you mean like heckling? Do the performers go into the audience? Can we throw things?
You can throw money, throw cash. We'll take cash. I hate when people get
always
intimidated from a comedy club experience. I think that a lot of people have in mind that they're going to be heckled or brought into the show in a way they don't want to be. Like, our desire, especially these are paying patrons, we want people to have a great time. We want people laughing and comfortable. So you don't have to be a part of the show unless you want to be a part of the show. But we have oftentimes a piece where we'll bring up a couple and interview them on stage and do some scenes from that conversation. So we want to make it a special night that's unique, but our goal is never to single someone out in the audience. And of course, if you've got suggestions, we get a lot of suggestions that are, comedy suggestions, but we love as a performer to get that new thing we haven't heard before to inspire a whole different way of thinking. So yeah, we want people to have a good time.
Yeah, if there's a key takeaway for listeners, it is that you can come to Third Coast. It will just be a show that you'll get to participate in as an audience member, 100%. There's really no one coming at you.
Hey y'all, looking for a reason to touch some grass this spring? Nashville Earth Day is coming up on Saturday, April 18th from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. And it's all happening at Centennial Park. This free, family-friendly festival is all about celebrating our planet and finding simple ways to make a difference right here in Middle Tennessee. You'll find more than 75 exhibitors and vendors, from local growers and makers to nonprofits and sustainable small businesses. Plus, live music headlined by the Watson Twins. Also, a speaker's tent, Kidsville games and activities, an EV car show, yoga, and lots of food and drinks galore. Oh, and free trees. How could I forget? Yes, really, while supplies last. Nashville Earth Day is produced by the nonprofit Centennial Park Conservancy in partnership with Urban Green Lab and supported by Amazon and CityCast Nashville. Join us on April 18th and visit NashvilleEarthDay.org for more details. Having been at Marathon Village for almost 10 years, Third Coast Comedy Club is moving. I heard whispers that y'all were eyeing to buy a funeral home in East Nashville, but that is not true. We're going to get into where you're moving in just a sec. But first, why are you moving?
I mean, long and short of it, the lease isn't getting renewed. That's what kind of prompted the growth. But simultaneously, we'd outgrown the space. Our training centers continue to grow. We keep adding suites in the building, and we're just bursting at the seams. We just added another suite about a month and a half ago. So the landlord basically wants no nighttime activities, no businesses that are open in the evening.
Turns out that's what we do.
As a comedy club.
Yeah.
We can't really adapt to those new hours. But it's going to be a good natural breaking point. It'll be at 10-year mark. It will be a time for us to grow. And East Nashville, that's where our people are. That's where most of our performers are there. That's where a lot of our students are coming from, a lot of our patrons. And so it just makes sense.
Yeah,
that's right.
The owner, a lot of times you'll hear breakup stories where, it's not you, it's me. He said, it's not me, it's you. So that's why we're getting kicked out.
Well, so you kind of leaked it. You just said, Luke, that you're coming to East Nashville. So drum roll, please, everybody. Third Coast Comedy is moving to a location on Dickerson Pike. Tell us all about it.
We're excited about it. A really cool guy, Dave Punkashar. He's fantastic. He has a property that he's also a small business owner, started the Goodwood business, and he also outgrew that spot. He was really looking to create something kind of magical in that building, and he really loved our business. And so we have the entire street front, except where Retrograde Coffee is, our new neighbor. At the corner of that building, we have the rest of it on the top floor.
What kind of challenges did you face when you were searching for a new home?
Oh my God.
Oh my God. It was a years long search.
2 years.
2 years.
Years.
It was exhausting.
High and low, searching for the right home.
And I've heard it on this podcast too, but just the cost of real estate in Nashville and property taxes, it is a pretty hard burden for any small business, but especially when you have like a theater where you have to have a large footprint of square footage. And so there's a lot of requirements that we needed. We needed some, taller ceilings, ideally with parking, enough space for a bar and classrooms and everything that we need to operate the business. So it was a very challenging search. We had a lot of neighborhoods that we were open to, but we just kept getting priced out to where the numbers, wouldn't work. For a while, we were looking at Wedgwood, Houston, which has just continued to become unattainable.
Mm-hmm.
But East Nashville is always our number one pick. It was just hard to find a property that worked. And so when the funeral home, ironically enough, died, we found this spot with Goodwood. But the funeral home was for a while.
It was really, yeah.
I don't want to say we wasted a few months on it, but we did waste a few months on it.
And what we struggled with is not uncommon, I think, for a lot of entertainment venues. We're a small entertainment venue. We have ambitions. We're an incubator venue, and we're super happy to play that role in like the larger entertainment ecosystem. It's just such an important, vital, foundational role, especially for a lot of talent coming up. And we've had a lot of people move on to other cities from Third Coast. And we're hoping, honestly, that happens more and more, and we think it will. But that aside, it sounds like a great business. It seems like there would be a lot of support for it, but support has to be like tangible, actual support. And for us, it means a bottom line. And so trying to get over that bottom line ask of whatever property we were looking at, it was just really challenging because like Luke mentioned, as you know, prices are just going up. And the people that we're competing against just have a lot deeper pockets than we do. So we can always get outbid. But we got one.
Yeah, you got one. Well, I want you to speak just a little bit more about the parallels then between what you experienced and what's happening to so many of our indie music venues right now.
Scott, I think, knows this stat more than I do. We are part of the National Independent Venue Association, NIVA, which, if you're not familiar with NIVA, it saved, if you have a venue near and dear to your heart that's an independent venue, this organization saved that venue during COVID. It was created during COVID. It got the largest arts funding bill that the United States has ever passed out of Congress, and that saved venues like ours and a lot of venues that are near and dear to people's hearts in this city. So the challenges that we face are not unique. They're Scott, what's the percentage of venues that are not profitable?
60%.
That are independent venues?
Mm-hmm.
60%.
60% don't make a profit on an annual basis.
And so it is it's a vital role for talent. You got to get your start somewhere, but these venues are struggling in a big way. It's constantly harder to keep up with all the rising costs, especially with property taxes. All of that gets passed down. It has to get passed down. And so I think the challenge for us is just how do we continue to be creative and agile to find new solutions to these problems that constantly seem to just always be not just constant, but growing. It's a challenge, but that's the part of running a small business.
Well, let's then turn to the new space. And so tell us, how is it going to be different than the old space?
It's really going to be ours. One of the problems that we had in Marathon was just controlling the customer experience as soon as they showed up. It's just really nice to walk into the bar, to see where the box office is, to go into a slightly larger theater, but nicer theater that we hope will be more comfortable, and we'll have a second venue, a second stage. And if you're taking classes, we want the classes to be really functional and comfortable and well lit.
We want the bar to be, right now our bar is very program dependent. We want the bar to be a place for either a lot of our comics and staff, they work from home for their real jobs. And so we would love to have a place where they can work at Third Coast during the day at our bar and have the bar be a watering hole for the neighborhood that we'll be serving, as opposed to like tucked away, inside of a corridors of a building. We're going to have, for the first time ever, street frontage on a very highly trafficked road like Dickerson Pike. And so people are going to know where we are. I mean, even I'll get in a lift sometimes going to Third Coast and like, oh, I didn't know that there was not a comedy club in town. Like, well, there is. Yeah. Please tell everyone. So I think we're going to, for the first time ever, have a sign that people drive by and go, oh, I'm now aware these folks are here.
And what's your hot take on Dickerson Pike being the cool new street?
I would have never guessed. If you would have said, 5 years ago that this is
Right.
where we'd be moving, I'd be like, I don't believe you. But there are so many great, you've got Dark Matter over there, Cherries over there. We're going to be in great company of a lot of small businesses that are like-minded, and it is going to be quite the spot in a few years. It already is. And so we're very excited to be on that corridor with those businesses.
And hey, look, the whole reason that side of the city is still an artist draw is that it is generally more affordable than any other part of the city. And it generally has the most usable spots that you could rent. And so that's why we're over there. It's no surprise. One of the comics said, hey, if you guys move to East Nashville, I will personally account for 50% of your bar revenue. So we have people very, very excited about coming over and hanging out at the bar. And we really want that. We want Third Coast to be a third place for people. And it already is. And we just really want to lean into that.
We're in the business of community. When we started Third Coast, we knew like the feeling we wanted. We knew the purpose that we wanted. I think we've both been blown away by how much it's meant to so many people. We've had numerous people get married at Third Coast that met at Third Coast. And so, we never thought we'd have weddings on our improv stage. And so I think especially during the pandemic, we really realized how tight the community is, how much it meant to people, and how it really has changed people's lives, because you meet the best people who become lifelong friends. And that's what's made all of it worthwhile to watch along the way. That's been the biggest surprise.
That was not part of our plan. So it just happened. Yeah.
That's great. When people think of comedy, so much talent obviously comes out of other cities like Upright Citizens Brigade and Second City, the Groundlings. When will we know that Nashville has made it on the national level?
Well, that's a really good question.
I feel like we're kind of already there. A lot of
Training center is, I think.
Yeah, but like folks coming out of Nashville, I think you've got all the Nateland podcast guys. Those are all out of Nashville. We've got folks that are making a name on the national stage, as well as like with Netflix specials that have a very traceable route back to Nashville. And so I think we're like on the precipice if we're not already there. I think people are getting to know us as a comedy town as well. We're not just Music City.
Yeah, and our place in that development is huge, just because we have sketch comedy writers from known shows like sketch shows come and do workshops with our community, and 100% of the time their feedback is, this place is magical. We love Nashville. We love what Third Coast is. Everybody here is very professional. Everybody's motivated. Everybody's kind. Everybody wants to participate, and we just get feedback from comics all the time who come here and work with us.
Thinking of like rising stars, I've been to Erica and Blaine on Monday nights, which is amazing.
Great.
But are there any other rising stars within your community, any groups that we should really be keeping an eye on?
I would say if you come on Friday or Saturday, just check out the actors in that Third Coast comedy show. That is our premier ensemble and show. When I mentioned earlier that other people in the past have moved on to LA or New York or Chicago, they've come out of that cast. So if you come and just see those people, it's kind of like the minor leagues. You'll see them in development and they just crushed it. And now it makes sense when they're in the big leagues.
And what's cool is to see, that it always starts oftentimes with like commercials. So we've got a lot of our cast members starting to get, nationwide commercials, which is great. And then start to get cast in some TV shows with some recurring roles even. And so that's the part that's really exciting, just to see the careers start to blossom right before they take off. And we often lose them from Nashville. They typically make a move at that point. But the good news is we're constantly getting folks from New York, Chicago, LA that are moving here that are wanting either a smaller city or a different pace. And so we're getting a lot of great talent from other cities constantly. So it's just part of the cycle.
Well, to piggyback exactly on what you're talking about, people can watch comedy all the time on like TikTok or their streaming services from the comfort of their couch. So sell us on why people should come out to a Third Coast comedy show and see it live in person.
Improv is sort of like the Seinfeld of comedy, of stage comedy. It's really funny when you're there, but then if you try to talk about it at the water cooler the next day, it doesn't really make any sense. So you just have to be in the audience to experience it, because So much of the comedy comes from inside the development of the characters and the worlds and the scenes. And so you just have to be there. But also, I mean, come on, get out of the house, go out. It's going to be a fun bar. It's going to be a really, really nice theater. We want everybody in Nashville to know about it and come.
And there's something different about, especially with music too, there's something about just seeing it live in the moment with other people, because then it's a shared experience.
Exactly.
So you're not, laughing alone at home, just on TikTok scrolling. Yeah. You're with other people. The laughter truly is contagious. Yeah. It really is. That energy is shared among other people. That's what you get when you get out of your house. Yeah. Because I tell you, it is a problem though. People's attention spans have gotten shorter. A lot of times people aren't getting out of the house. And I think with that, you're missing out on a lot of connection that you can find at Third Coast or any live entertainment venue.
Luke, I zoned out. What did you say? Exactly.
All right. So when is the grand opening of your new space and how are you going to be celebrating?
Great question.
Well, we've got so we have our 10-year anniversary we're going to do in our current space. So that's the first thing. So before we leave Marathon Village, probably around July, we're going to have our 10-year anniversary. We're going to probably do some kind of big party where people can take parts of Third Coast with them. I think that'll be a good way to close that chapter. And then the new space, probably in August, we'll have our grand opening, which will equally be just as big as we celebrate going to the new space. But we have a lot of things that we have to do before we get there. We just got an email this morning.
I was reading that. I know.
Yeah, so this morning, there's been a lot of surprises. Yes, kind of. We're going to have to.
It's plumbing.
Oh, plumbing.
Yeah, we're going to have to bring a bigger water main into the building from the street. And so those things, we don't know how many more of those surprises we're going to get before now and we move. But the goal, since our lease is up July 31st and we start paying rent on August 1st in the new space, the goal is to have no period of darkness for the theater and have a smooth transition.
And a window where we're not paying at two places. That's what we want to try to work.
Right.
So.
All right. So if anybody listening wants to follow along on this journey and cheer you on from the internet, I guess, or in person, they're going to be going to your shows. But how can they follow along?
On our socials, Third Coast Comedy Club on Instagram. We're also on Facebook. We're going to be ramping up our TikTok soon. And then on our website. But we're going to be launching a crowdfunding campaign because this build out is a lot more than we can handle. And so we are going to count on the community we've built, but also just Nashville to help us get across the finish line. So keep posting about the crowdfunding efforts because we're going to need some help.
And I always like to say that the best way to support us is to just show up, buy a ticket, buy a beer, be at the venue. As it turns out, venues are only profitable when people show up and buy a ticket and buy a beer. It ain't rocket
And y'all
science.
don't require people to purchase 2 drinks and food, correct?
Oh, no.
And we never will. Mm-mm. We never will. When we first opened, we were like, that annoyed us. I hated being forced to buy X amount of items, 2-item minimum here, or, whatever the case may be. I hated it. So when we started, we were very intentional, no 2-item minimum and no exorbitant ticketing fees. We tried to keep our ticket fees, as low as possible so that it's not a $10 fee on a $20 ticket.
We're definitely a cheap date. Just putting that out there.
Love a cheap date. Well, Luke, Scott, thank you so much for being here and congratulations. We'll be following along and shouting you out.
What a pleasure. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
That's all for today here on CityCast Nashville. And don't forget, you can support this show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Nashville neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell your friends, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our CityCast Nashville newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Toodles!